Alright, I am back and I'm excited to talk and draw today. Looking at the screen, I'm doing a bit of cleanup on a Hulk picture. I'm going to scrap that for now and start something new because I just feel like doing something different tonight. Trying to get my computer to respond, and it's not responding. Great new image. Thanks for tuning in. This is another conversation, me talking, drawing, sharing a little bit with all of you. I hope you're feeling good this holiday season. I don't know how far I'm going to get in this one. I'm not sure how long I want to make this video. I just know that I really liked making videos during my Kickstarter session for Angel's Blood and the last one for Hatched. And, the season's been kind of crazy. I've been busy. I've been working a day gig for the last month, and that eats up some of my drawing time. But for you, I'm going to get back into it. Let's start with a rough blue sketch, because I want to figure out my outline here. I want to do something sort of fun, sort of comic related, and sort of something in the spirit of the season. So just for a quick comic-y thing, I think I'm going to go with a Spider-Man. So you can see rough here, my blue line Spider-Man. Spider-Man because, like a lot of comic fans, what's on my mind lately is the new Spider-Man No Way Home upcoming movie. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about it. I think it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of people are speculating really hard about what's coming or not coming as far as Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and I'm not even sure if that's a great idea, to be honest. I just know that where we're at with the multiverse, and spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Loki, they really got into the concept of many alternate universes, and hence variants of different characters, which is going to obviously lead into, and this is not a spoiler, all the villains from many previous Spider-Man movies, specifically movies of different universes. The Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire, original Spider-Man theatrical movies are tying in because Alfred Molina is coming back to play Doc Ock. Now, whether he's the Doc Ock that we know or Doc Ock from a variant universe, it remains to be seen. I've seen some interesting fan theories about that, but it is confirmed, of course, that he's in the movie, and that takes us to an interesting place, because Marvel has never tied into the previous versions. Every time they do a reboot, much like the Batman series is, you kind of ignore the other versions. You just start over. And tying into those, especially with existing actors, is neat and interesting, and it's fertile ground for all kinds of fun stories you can tell, much like has always been done in the comics. And that's what I love about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is that ever since it really got going, they've been able to bring to life what you see in the comics in terms of the grandeur of the stories and the crossovers and just the amazing things that we've always done in comics. And I say we because I feel like I'm, at least in some way, I'm one of them, because I'm a comic guy. Let me talk a little about my drawing here. I'm getting a little heavy into some details on the blue line because I want to map it out pretty closely so that when I go to ink and color, I know what I'm doing. This is gonna be. I'm gonna do a Spider-Man Santa, I think, because it tis the season. I've been working the Christmas holiday at the mall, running a fun little store selling calendars and puzzles and toys and Christmas gifts. So it's been nice to be out in the Christmas season. Normally this time of year, last few years I've been running the Santa Claus set. Where you go and take pictures with Santa Claus. COVID really screwed us up for that, and beyond the fact that it's just hard to take pictures with Santa and stay safe, the company that I worked for has taken quite a hit the last couple of years, and they're just not opening Santa sets all over the place. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. I think I'm going to create another layer and do some inking. If you can see that, I'm going to call this ink. So the Spider-Man movie, the upcoming movie I was just talking about, the third in the latest Spider-Man saga is it's interesting to me what they've finally been able to do with Spider-Man, which is, to make a deal with Sony and pull him into the Marvel universe, which is just, say what you will about Marvel and Disney taking over Marvel and stuff, but what they've been able to do with the movies in the cinematic universe is just nothing short of miraculous, in my opinion, in terms of storytelling. So I'm really excited for it because it could just go on such a grand scale. It's a bigger scope, and they hadn't been able to do movies involving characters they didn't own, like Spider-Man. Marvel didn't have the rights to Spider-Man, and Sony wasn't giving them up. But if they can strike a deal, if they can strike a balance, there's money to be made for all of them. And it's for me, it's the fans that win. Marvel makes a ton of money, Sony makes a ton of money, but it's the fans that get some amazing stories like they have not been able to tell in the past. There've been some changes, to the lore of Spider-Man through the movies and stuff, but I've come full circle on this thought, and it really started with the Batman saga. Like, movies are just a different version of of storytelling. It's a different medium entirely, so you can do stuff in movies that doesn't work in comics, and vice versa. You can do stuff in comics that doesn't work in movies. And just every genre, in novels can do things that you can't do in comics. Cartoons can do things you can't do in movies. I mean, every different media has its own strengths and weaknesses. So what we end up with is, people are going to armchair direct and nitpick as much as they want to, but I think that's counterproductive, and I'm just glad that we're able to make comic book related movies that they really are just good science fiction. And let's be truthful about it. Being bitten by a radioactive spider, on its surface, I mean, it's science fiction. An alien coming from another planet and landing here, developing superpowers and being a hero. I mean, that's science fiction. People pigeonhole comic book stories into something like it's less than other forms of storytelling, but it's really just sci-fi, people. The hero aspect, costumes and stuff, that's just kind of for show, and it's something, you know, that was derived a lot from the books, maybe the comics. People still think of comic books as something, even though they're popular, something different and other than literature. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that, and I will fight to the death to defend it as another legitimate form of really truly great storytelling. You can look throughout history at great novels and works of art and literature, and I think it holds up. Other mysteries, comics. And comics, by the way, are not just superheroes. Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, these are not the only kinds of comics that exist. They tend to get the most representation. They're a favorite of people a lot of times. I'm not explaining my art here. I don't know if you noticed I'm going in and changing the size and shape of the pen to simulate what I would do in the real world if I were inking. I often ink with like 5 to 7 different pens at my side. Usually I'll start with the smallest possible and work my way up. But for me, I just sort of go random. Sometimes after I've got my blue lines down, I'll see where I need a big thick line, and I'll just take a big thick pen and go all over like I'm about to do right now. Let's go thick with this. Because I really kind of want to, you know what, let's not do the pen. I think I'll do something more. I'm going to change the settings here, and I don't want to do size by pressure. I'll just make it flat. Because I just want to fill in this big black shape here. Forgot my train of thought there. What was I talking about? Oh, literature, comics. Anyway, there's a million kind of comics. There's monster comics and mystery comics, comics about crime, sci-fi, and all that. So I reject the premise that comics have to be something, any one thing. I frankly reject the premise that someone, people tell me they don't like comics, and I think it's really to the point that you maybe just don't know comics or haven't found the comic that suits you. I mean, who among us doesn't like stories? I'm using my eraser tool to kind of shave off, chisel away at the shape of my Spider-Man's eye here. The key, the most important thing, in my opinion, when doing a Spider-Man picture is getting the eyes right. And I want them to always look, the edges to look crisp. And once I'm happy with that, then I'll move on. Got this layer here, which I'm going to call blue. We're at 13 minutes. Let's see how much more I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to do a partial picture here, because I want to get some color slapped in here and maybe make a graphic out of this for putting online. I have been doing so much stuff besides comics lately. Doing some other artwork. Been doing, of course, my retail day gig. Made a list of things I want to talk about, and I'm going to try and do a face-to-face video to accompany this. So I hope I get to that, but primarily, I'm trying to get back to just doing more outreach. I want to talk to you guys more. I want to show a little art and put myself out there, because the stuff I spent all of 2020 and 2021 building, from my comics to my Kickstarters. I really want to continue it. And not just ego driven. I mean, I got more stuff I want to bring out, and eventually I figured out that in order for me to do that, I have to make better inroads in my networking, and my marketing and my promotion, the promotion of my artwork, and then consequentially my stories. So if you haven't seen Hatched, check me out at kenscomics.net, because that's coming in January. And sadly, because of the day gig, some of that has slowed up a bit in terms of what I've been able to accomplish, but it's still on track to be finished in time and hopefully delivered late January. I'm overdue for a update to my backers on that from the Kickstarter. Thanks to everyone who's supported me there. I'm a huge cross-hatching fan, if you haven't noticed. In fact, my last book is called Hatched, specifically because I'm the kind of guy that likes to do a lot of cross-hatching, which is exactly this, what you're looking at. Just like it sounds. Lines hatching and then crossing over each other to create a different illusion of texture and shadow. Now, something that I have to judge all the time, and I usually have to make some kind of call in the early stages when I'm inking, is how much cross-hatching do I want to do. When I do something like Legends of Log, which by the way is approaching its anniversary edition, I'm really happy to have been invited to contribute to that, so I will let you know when that's coming out. I have a little blurb about it. I did, it's about 18 to 20 pages overall for the Legends of Log series, and it's easily the probably the best work I've ever done, and the most cross-hatch intensive, so that's why I love it so much. I had an interesting conversation today online about that very thing, about my cross-hatching and things, and the style of it, and how sometimes it's kind of a crutch that I use to cover up mistakes. And maybe it is. Maybe it is. In fact, certainly it is. I won't lie. I'm going to create another layer here and start going with some color. Let's just see. I'm at 17 minutes, and everyone who's if you're still watching this, thanks. And I'm sorry this isn't interactive, but I made another miscalculation with my holiday season in trying to plan videos that would be for Sunday morning live, because of the holidays, Sunday morning is about my only time off, and I thought, great, what a great time to do art, right? And some of my outreach. What I've learned though is I also need to make sure that I've got time for family, and oh man, I just noticed what I've done here. Shucks. Alright, let's do this. Alright, if you're following along, then you know what I did. If you're not, I'm not going to point it out because I made a boo-boo. We're going to have some fun cleaning that up. I accidentally did inks on the same layer that I was doing my blue lines on, and now my blues and my inks there are muddled. But, this is the sketch anyway. Maybe we'll just leave the blue. Maybe just leave the blue and enjoy it being there for part of the roughness. Either that, or I'll remove it, fix it, and redo some of those black inks. So when I'm digitally coloring, I like to do an outline of an entire shape that I need, and then just fill it. Actually, I take that back. I don't like to do it, but I do it out of necessity because it saves time. What I like to do, if I have my way, it takes longer, is I actually enjoy coloring like this, the same way you would if you just had a a marker or a crayon, because I feel like that's how we all colored as a kid. However, it is less efficient sometimes than just selecting the outside of a shape and then filling it in. Because in all honesty, with this method, um, it's just faster to get a nice solid base color. But sometimes what I like to do and what I need to do professionally aren't the same. When I'm coloring just for me, I still kind of color. I treat the approach of it the same way I would if it were in paper, on paper. I don't think of art, digital art, any differently than I do regular or traditional paper and pencil art. For me, it's just another tool. It's another way of doing the same thing. Hard sometimes to gain a different skill. I don't know. And weirdly, when I'm drawing or coloring, it feels like cheating if I'm using a tool to cut corners and do it quickly. But I mean, that's ridiculous. It's not true. It's just the way it feels. Like right now, I'm trying to just color it in by hand. It really doesn't matter. Now, depending on the tools you're using, see how this fills in nice and neat. Sometimes in Photoshop, if you do the same thing, you end up with a little outline that isn't very pleasant to look at. I'll show you another way to do it is take this lasso tool and you can actually select a whole area without even choosing a color yet. Let's just see, I'm going to do this. My problem, I find in everything I've used, the lasso tool to be far less, kind of less accurate. I'm going to pick a brown for this because this is going to be kind of a sack. Alright, so Spider-Man's playing Santa. He's just got a sack full of whatever. Here we go. Sack full of toys and stuff. I didn't think to select this either. I'm going to go back because I feel like coloring this one with my coloring tool. I'm using one of the pens set to about 70 with no creative fixing at the start, and it's just like a big blunt round brush. So I do the outline and then I'll fill that in. Whoops. Let me undo and then redo that. You see a little line like that, like I was talking about. Didn't show before. I'm going to color that in so it doesn't show. Because then later on when I'm shading it, I don't want any of that to really be visible. Alright, see, Spider-Man's starting to come to life. I'm going to do the blue. Spider-Man's blue here. Just go around here. I like to get rid of all that so it's nice and tidy. And then we'll do some kind of royal blue. I like, I like using the picker just so I can visually select the colors myself. There's probably other ways to get more accurate colors, but I find this to be more creative. And again, if I were drawing it in real life, I would just be looking at my tools, the tools ahead of me, whether it's colored pencils, markers, or crayons, and just seeing what looked closest to me and then using it. So when I'm coloring this way, I'm not looking up specific shades or anything. Oh shoot, this didn't work. Oh yeah, it did. I'm going to unselect that. Now the reason I can get away without going too close there is because when I fill in this area, it's not going to fill in where the red and the other colors already are. This I want to be a white. Now, something about comics and coloring for print, you never, ever, ever select just a pure white. It just doesn't look right. It doesn't print right, doesn't look right. So I take something of a little bit of a grayer, and then maybe I play with it. And you can always lighten it up. So you know that looks pretty much white compared to everything else, but it's not. It's actually a little bit towards a gray blue on its own. Yeah, all that cross hatching ended up being on my blue shade, on my blue, and my webbings too, ended up being on my blue lines. So I think I might just go in and erase some of my blue lines to make it more palatable. Yeah. Alright, friends, so watch me do some erasing. I'm gonna change the size of my eraser. Just try and get the main big parts of it. And maybe that'll be fun to leave some of the blue so you can see some of how the sketch, the roughness of a sketch. Just leave it there. There was one thing I really loved when I was able to see the Norman Rockwell exhibit when it traveled to Detroit. And you got to actually see his paintings up close and personal. My favorite Norman Rockwell painting is the triple self-portrait. I'm taking some of my blacks with me, and that's okay. I can always redo them if I want to. Art is creative and subjective. So my favorite Norman Rockwell painting is the triple self-portrait, and that's the one, if you haven't seen it, where Norman Rockwell painted himself as if you're looking at himself from the back, looking and the character in the painting, is looking in a mirror and is painting himself in that mirror. So there's him in the mirror, there's him sitting in the chair painting himself in the mirror, and then there's him, a rendition or a version of him on the canvas, which is like he's painting kind of a idealized version of himself, not an accurate version to what you're seeing. But I mean, that's him painting himself 3 times, and it's just freaking genius. Absolutely love Rockwell. So I actually want to lose a lot of this, so I'm just going to select it. Now my webbing down there, unfortunately, toward the bottom, is on that layer, so I'm going to kind of leave that. This might be a mistake. I don't know. Art's a process, guys. And I'm sharing the process with you more than the product. So thanks for your time there. Let's do black. I want to go back to this pen because I see that I erased some of my black lines. What was I talking about? Oh, Norman Rockwell. Rockwell being my favorite. And when I got to see the triple self-portrait up close, it was amazing. And you can see all of the mistakes. There are even still pencil lines that show through the paint and onto, I mean, it's in the picture. And I'm just impressed by that. Frankly, the guts the guy had to like turn in a painting of that magnitude, and for it to like actually not be perfect and flawless made me think, wow, this is a guy who's just not just immensely talented, which he is, but just balls to the wall, like no holds barred. Look at me, this is who I am. And whether that's fearless or what, I can't really say, but I will tell you, it was a sight to behold because you got to see a little bit of the process just right there baked into the art because it's original. And I'm going to go ahead. I decided as I'm sitting here looking at it, I'm not happy with the I'm not happy at all with any of that blue line, so I'm going to just redo all of this webbing. as I live and breathe, I'm going to talk to you. So, what else was I going to talk about today? If I don't get to do a live, like in-person face shot ready to go with this, and you're just listening to my voice while you watch me draw, hi. Something else I've been working on that is close to being complete is the latest issue of Global Defense Force. Earlier in my self-publishing career, I had done a few books on my own, and I was hired by a local writer named Brian Hitzman. Hello, Brian, aka Mansheen, to bring his creation, the Global Defense Force, to life. It's something he had created and written over time, and I was the artist and publisher, and we over the last bunch of years, we brought on some amazing talent to do it with us, and to the point where we started it. I was the penciler, inker, letterer, colorist, and on issue 1 I needed some help because I had a bunch of stuff on my plate, so I got my man Adam Wilkinson to take over penciling duties, and then I did inks and colors and letters, plus I published. Issue number 2 I did entirely on my own because I had the time, and then issue 3 we brought on my man Mohammed. Brian really hired Mohammed Lubasan and for pencils and inks, and I ended up doing colors and letters, and then again was publishing under Incremental Studios. It's been some time since that, and then we published the first 3 issues as an anthology. Now Brian is back. He recently ran an Indiegogo campaign to fund issue number 4. And there's a couple of different artists. Mo is pencil and ink around that, and I think there's another guy doing art and colors as well. And I apologize, I forget his name, who took over those duties. And then, so it's funny because I'm just literally just lettering this one, but I kind of joined on the team, help out Brian, see this comic get made, plus throw some more Global Defense credits my way, and to do something again with my man Mohammed, who's done some great stuff for my books, Angel's Blood 1 and Angel's Blood 0. So just kind of keeping that family together. So I'm recreating some of that cross-hatching that you saw on the other layer that I'm going to erase. And I'm throwing some more cross-hatching. It's very 90s, but I always do a little bit of cross-hatching on the side here. I was influenced heavily by the 90s anyway. And I'm going to undo that because I decided I didn't like it. That's the cool thing about digital, though, is you can always hit the button and undo whatever it was that you did if you don't like it. And I don't like it. So, Santa Spidey is coming along here. I'm going to kind of stop it right there. I don't actually want this high in the way. I just wanted to say something since you can't see my face right now. So, let's see. Global Defense Force is on the way. Hatched is underway. Oh man, my man, shout out to Martin Piero of Cosmic Times. They have the latest issue of From Blood in Previews Magazine, which is really exciting to me because that's the issue where I joined in on the project. It was my first ever paid comic gig. Thanks to him and Zach Bassett for giving me a chance to take over inking duties on that. It's one of the projects I'm most proud of, and they've recently re-released it in full color. Amazing color, too, for the record. Ooh, shucks. You know what you're going to see the difference here as I'm erasing? Because that's making it like white. Um, that was actually an accident, but I think I'm going to keep it and add a little color to the background of that. Because it's going to give us a little more texture, a little more highlights, and then, yeah, I'm going to like the way this looks, I think. But again, in digital, if you don't like it, you can always undo it. Super easy to undo. So anyway, From Blood #2 is available now to order through Previews Magazine. That means we're getting national distribution for that and the series. And issues #2 and 3 both feature inks by none other than me. I'm going to add a layer behind here. Yeah, I think I'm going to like how that looks behind it. So, as I've been saying, there's a lot going on. So, projects like Hatched and Global Defense and From Blood coming out again. So if you haven't gotten it before, you can get it now. It's awesome. Awesome book. It is the closest thing I will probably ever get to doing a Hulk book, just in terms of the story. It's very dark side of a man versus monster kind of thing. This guy, science experiment, rage, a little bit of violence, superheroism, but like kind of reluctant hero, not totally heroic, but guy ends up doing the right thing. It's a brilliant book. Check out everything Cosmic Times is doing. They're also relaunching their King Arthur series that started the whole thing with them, and they just launched a new Patreon, so you can support, follow, and get cool stuff from them on Patreon. Something I'm also launching too, by the way. There's just still some planning to be done. Technically, the Patreon's there, but I don't have any reward tier set up yet because I'm still figuring out what I can offer and what I want to offer exclusively to Patreon as opposed to stuff I'm giving away for nothing. Because that's like I do all this to share. I love comics and I love making stuff to share with the world. Okay, let's see where we're at, guys. So as I back up there, I kind of like the way it looks. Man, we're at almost 40 minutes. I've been drawing this one silly thing. It almost feels ridiculous. Let's duplicate layers. I might do this in a super speed video or something later. One thing I did learn is when you start to mess with colors, always duplicate your color layer. So if you screw up, you gotta back up and you don't ruin it. So if you're still watching this and you're interested in any of my stuff, please leave me a comment. Leave me some sort of idea of what you think about what I've done, what I'm doing, what you'd like to see next. I want to do some other sketch videos very soon. I am going to still do a weekly video and a live stream, but I think I'm leaning toward maybe turning that into a Monday thing instead of Sunday, because at least through Christmas, I'm not going to have a ton of time without taking too much time away from my family, which, it's the most important thing to me, even more important than art and comics. I love my family, and without them, there is no me. Everything I do, they're part of it and a reflection of it, and I couldn't be anything. I don't even remember a time before I was a father and a husband. That's a little mushy, I guess, but let's do a little bit of a dark thing here. And then I'm going to fill that in with my bucket tool. Yeah. Let's see how that looks. Not awful. Do a little highlight too then. So select some areas that I want to make brighter and lighter, just for variety's sake. And I would spend more time on this if this were for something more than just laughs. So forgive me for the roughness of this, but just kind of want to show you a little bit of different art stuff. If you're a pro and you're watching this, then forgive me, because this is probably looking crazy rough to you. And if you have criticism, throw that at me too. I deserve it, and I'm interested in it. Let's see how that looks. That's too light. Yep, way too light. Watch this though. Boom, boom. Can undo all that, see? Then I'll change this, do a little more, kind of something lighter. Tell me what your Christmas looks like. You know, my favorite thing about Christmas is getting the chance to do some traditions. Whether it's like putting up a tree or playing games. We have Christmas Eve traditions, like opening a gift, like one gift. Of course, there's the usual. I mean, there's food and stuff associated with most family traditions. But for me, the big thing is just spending it with my people I love, like my kid and my wife, mostly. Stuff I get to see and do with my mom and dad, visit my sister and nephews. I just love the idea of taking time that we don't take all year round and making it important to stop and remember what's the most important thing for all of us. I'm probably going to date this video by saying it, but the thing in the news lately, besides COVID and all the trouble we're going through with that constantly for the last 2 freaking years. Big thing lately, last couple days, has been these tornadoes. And, you know, we live in Michigan, so we've got, you know, crappy weather, and we're accustomed to crappy weather. But, man, it's nothing like the tornadoes that we're seeing. And I'm torn between feeling awfully terrible for everyone that's going through that, and also kind of feeling grateful just for what I have. You know, when you hear about terrible things that happen, one thing that it's sort of natural, but I always do, is I stop and I have to be thankful for what I've got. And it feels weird, and I'm sorry for that. But there's a whole lot of, like, that could be me in my mind. And I think the most important thing for me is just appreciate what we got. Try not to worry about what we don't. Let's see if I can add this text. Alright, apparently it's not going to let me. So, I'm going to do it with pen here. Alright guys, I'm going to try and do more stuff with videos very shortly. Thanks for watching if you watched all this. And if you didn't, I appreciate it anyway. I hope you have a great holiday. This is me. I'm going to sign off. It's been 45 minutes on a rough Spider-Man sketch. Thanks for your time. I hope that everyone has a great holiday. I hope that you think about what's important and you take care of the people that you love. And have a Merry Christmas. Peace.